Here are 5 things I'm glad I still did in my pick me era and 5 mistakes I made in my pick me era. Number one, I'm glad that I didn't buy into the 50-50 nonsense. If you ask me out, if you're interested, then you need to make the plans, you need to set up the date, and you need to pay for it. The only man that I was going to treat to lunch or anything like that was going to be someone who was officially my man, but it wasn't going to be some guy that I'm just getting to know or anything. And even if I treat you to lunch because you're my man, it wouldn't be something that I would be doing consistently all the time. It would be like a special occasion, or it would be something that I would do every so often just to be nice. The second thing that I'm glad I did was when I did go out on these dates, I always made sure I had enough money to cover the date just in case that guy dipped out and ghosted me. I always made sure that I had my own transportation and way to get home that wasn't depending on him. It's a safety thing, just in case he turns out to be a psycho. I had my own way to get home. And it was just a security thing. I knew that if he decided to be a whack job, I wasn't depending on this whack job to take me home and be even more disrespectful and weird. Next thing, I didn't exchange social media right away. Back then, it was like MySpace and Facebook. So to me, Facebook was something that you really had to know me to be one of my Facebook friends. Because that's kind of like an even deeper glimpse into my personal life to a certain extent. So I wanted to vet this person and see if they deserved to be in that inner circle of my life on social media. The next thing was the guy had to be attractive. Women are told that looks don't matter, while men are told that they can date whoever they want. They're not going to give you the time of day if they are not attractive to you. It doesn't matter how funny you are, it doesn't matter how smart you are, it doesn't matter how successful you are. If they are not attracted to you, they are not going to give you the time of day unless they're using you for some reason. And I later on broke this rule later in life because of the fact that people kept saying, oh, ugly men treat you better, which I learned the hard way that's not true. But at the very least, I wanted, even though a man will be a man, a dog is going to be a dog, just because he's attractive doesn't mean anything. I didn't want to look back and be like, ugh, I cannot believe I gave him a chance. What the fuck was I thinking? Physical attraction is important, and it's not superficial to feel that way. Your body knows what it likes. Honor that. Next thing that I'm glad I realized in my pick me era was that just because a man is religious or spiritual does not mean he's a good guy. I was smart enough, even in my pick me era, to know that a man is a man. I don't care if they light candles and burn sage. I don't care if they go to church or whatever spiritual religious institution every single time it's in service. Does not matter. I was assaulted by a man who was a youth pastor. So none of that matters. My ex-husband gave to the community and prayed and doesn't celebrate Halloween because it's evil, and he beat my ass. Religion doesn't matter. Look at how the person acts every day. Not what they say, not who they worship or how they worship. How do they treat you? Now here's 5 mistakes I made in my pick me era. Number one, I was afraid to say no. I would always think to myself, well, I don't like this or I don't want to do that, but if I don't do this thing, then the guy's not going to like me. And newsflash, they still didn't like me when I let them do whatever they wanted. They still would play me and ghost me. So I would have been better off saying no and then having them get the fuck out of my life than letting them play in my face because I don't want to be mean and then still getting dumped. Most importantly, I always felt as if I was betraying myself, which leads me to number 2. I wanted to be perceived as the cool girl. No, I don't mind if you and your girl best friend go to Las Vegas and sleep in the same room in the same bed. That's totally fine. I trust you. What the fuck? No, I don't mind if you ditch me to hang out with your friends. That's totally fine. That's cool. It's totally fine that you canceled our date 5 minutes before we were supposed to go on it. I totally understand. I was tired too. I needed to learn how to be a bitch. Being a pushover got me pushed over. Being a doormat got me walked on. And don't get me wrong, because you got to be the nice brigade is going to come out. Being a bitch does not mean just go around being a jerk to people for no reason. Being a bitch means owning what you want, owning your boundaries. No means no. I don't like that. I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't appreciate that. And if that means that they don't want to be around you anymore, so be it, because you're not going to let people waste your time. It also means ending the disrespect the first time it happens, not giving them a chance or understanding, no, you're not going to talk to me like that. And that is final. Next mistake I made when I was a pick me was dating when I was broke. Now I know here comes the everybody deserves love people, but when I was divorced back in 2008 and I was rebuilding my life, I should have been focused on that. There were so many times when I was faced with eviction notices and your lights are going to get cut off notices, and that should have been my only priority, is possibly, and don't talk to me about capitalism, I know how that works, but that was how the world was at that time. I should have been focused on getting a second job and trying to get myself out of that situation. I should have been focused on what kind of assistance I could have gotten at the moment. That should have been my priority, not dating and swiping left and swiping right on dating apps. What women don't realize, when you date while broke, you will make poor decisions because you are desperate for somebody to help you pay your bills. What you need to realize about men is when they date when they're broke, they are specifically looking for someone that they can use. So when you are self-sufficient, when you are good financially, it takes that pressure off and you can actually focus on whether or not this guy is a good person. When you have that same expectation for the people you are dating, it might not still turn out right. They might still be a jerk. But again, it takes that pressure of thinking, oh, they're just trying to talk to me so they can use my car or live with me or borrow money from me all the time. Money is important. The next mistake I made was I was way too forgiving. I have been assaulted twice in my life, and both times were with guys that I was dating. And because I was so desperate, because I had zero self-esteem, I allowed them to make me believe that it was no big deal, or it was a mistake, or that it was just a joke. It wasn't that big of a deal, even though deep down in my heart, I knew it was wrong and I didn't like it. But I was so desperate to have a man in my life that I accepted whatever they told me. A man could ghost me and not talk to me for 2 months and pop back up, and I would think that I was special and I would start talking to them again. A man could play in my face and I would be the dummy buying him the toys so that he could play in my face. Every time they would do something disrespectful, I would always find a way to make some kind of excuse, to make it logical, to make it be okay. And back to my other point, I just should have been a bitch and put my foot down and said, no, I should have reported those two men for doing what they did to me. That's why I'm so passionate about the things that I talk to now, so that I can help women be a bitch and stand up for themselves and advocate for themselves and not make the mistakes that I did. Next mistake that I made was I thought that meeting the parents, meeting the friends was this big, huge milestone that meant the relationship was progressing and everything was getting better. Wrong. There was one guy that I dated and I met his mom and she loved me. Everything was amazing. Whole time he was seeing another woman and they wound up getting into a relationship, wound up marrying her and having kids with her. Now, the irony, the not so funny part of this situation is years later, he wound up being in my inbox. Weird asshole. At the time, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was telling all my friends that I met his mom, and then he was just playing in my face the whole time. There was one man that I dated where I met his son, and I was like, whoa, meeting the kids. Whole time, this man was changing women like he changed his underwear, and I'd be willing to bet he didn't even do that too often. Sure, you can meet his parents. Sure, you can meet his family. Sure, you can meet his kids, but don't, how do I say this? Don't let it go to your head, okay? Don't trick yourself into thinking it means something unless his actions actually show that it does. How was he acting before you met his parents? How was he acting after you met his parents? Is he just doing this because you're threatening to stop talking to him? Or, is this something he just does to all women? Because let's just be honest, most families are going to be on the man's side. So they're not going to tell you that he just brought another woman there last week. If you meet his family or friends, hey, what's up? Nice to meet you. But don't let that cloud your judgment to the honesty of what is currently happening in that situation between the both of y'all. Doesn't necessarily mean y'all are getting married. Doesn't necessarily mean he's the one. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to change if he's treating you like shit. It just means, hey, you're meeting some more people. And the world kept spinning. Which leads me to the bonus point. I got way too excited too soon. I would meet a guy and be like, oh my God, we talked all night and we laughed all night. Oh my gosh, and we held hands after the date and oh my God. It's exciting because you're attracted to him. It's exciting because you don't know anything about him and it's new and you're getting to know him. And most of the time y'all are laughing together because you're the funny one and he's laughing at your jokes and you're actually the one carrying the conversation. Or maybe y'all are actually having a great conversation and both of you are carrying the weight. Again, it's new. Y'all are attracted to each other. It's fun getting to know someone you're attracted to. That still doesn't mean shit. I would meet these dudes and think that they were the one. Oh my gosh, I've met the one. Every guy that I met was the one. I cannot tell you how many the ones I've met in my entire life. Just like a job, they need to have a probationary period. I wouldn't even save their number in my phone. However long you want that probationary period to be, for me, at the very least, bare minimum, it needs to be 30 days. At the very most, it needs to be 90 days. The average guy, I'm not talking about narcissists and abusers, okay? The average guy is going to show you who he really is between 1 to 3 months. He'll ghost you or turn out to be a jerk. Something's going to happen in that time that's going to show you that you need to move on from this dude. But stop getting so excited so fast. We are so marriage. I want to wear matching pajamas and take pictures and post them on Facebook. I want to do cute TikTok dances. We want that so badly that we will latch on to anyone hoping that they will fulfill that role for us. Finally, we want our finally moment. We want that story to go back and tell people that we met at this place and we left and we take that shit out of the equation and just have fun. And if he winds up being the one, great. If he doesn't, then great. At least you know that you didn't get too invested, you didn't get too excited too soon, and you didn't start making a Pinterest board of wedding ideas for a dude that you just met. Anyway, you live, you learn, you do better. That's why I do what I do on social media. I want to help other women not make the same mistakes I did.